we were talking about something very important, and that's like we're just jumping right into showbiz. Whatever. I'm hanging out with Paul. Paul's my best friend. We're here all the time now. This is my one Paul show that I'm working on. We're talking about comedians or people in general, acts, entertainment that don't want to follow people when they do well. I don't get that. Why wouldn't you want to go after when everyone's like in a good mood? Like they feel intimidated, like I can't be as good as that. It's like you're not that. This is apples and oranges. Everybody's different. Like we're all snowflakes, not the Trump way, the original way, and like just go up there. They're in a good mood, they're having fun. This is like I think that's way more ideal than following someone that bombs. I think the mentality got switched. Maybe it's our own egos or whatever it is. We're scared, we're unconfident. Comedians, it's mostly what we're talking about. We're scared losers because we were socially awkward in school in our social circles, and then we met other comedians and we're like, oh, I'm actually more adapted than this person, so I'm actually not a loser in this circle, so I'm gonna stick with it. Boom, nailed it.
The way I look at it is that because I come from a variety show background, I perform with several different acts, and what it comes down to is what you're comfortable with, and it really does come down to everyone's initial experience, because I think the problem nowadays is promoters are trying to pack too many comedians on a show.
Oh, that's always been a thing because
Yeah,
no one draws. So that's why bringers are a thing. And if
yeah,
people aren't in the biz and aren't familiar what a bringer is, that's kind of like a comedian slur. It's a show. And honestly, comedians like get a rap for this, but when I was in bands, those were super common, and like
yeah,
comedians bitch about doing a 5-person bringer, which means you have to bring at least 5 paying customers, which is paying a door fee, probably a 2-drink minimum if it's like
yeah.
some dumb club in like a D-list club in New York or whatever, so this is like a huge investment. Basically we have to bring 5 paying members. When I was in bands, they'd be like, you can't even go on stage if you didn't sell like 30 tickets.
Yeah,
I remember just
yeah.
being like 15 and begging my dad to buy a ticket or some shit. Like, never did that for comedy. I was like, I'll just not go up, I guess. Because they'll let you go last if you didn't bring anybody on a bringer. They're like, look, you drove 3 hours. You're not getting paid. We'll give you 2 minutes at the end while the guy mops the floor. How's that? And you're like, thanks, man. And you try and sell merch to the guy mopping the floor. You're like, do you need a new mop? I got a mop for sale in my car. And then you
Has
smoke
your
weed with him.
has your name, has all your info on it.
Yeah, a mop with a sticker of my social media, just like death gripped around with like creases on it.
Yeah, one of the things that I found in, just performing in general is how much are you willing to put into what you're doing?
Oh
How,
God.
yeah, and I
I see
think,
people put more work out here setting up their fucking tripod than the actual joke. I swear to God, they set up their tripod for fucking 2 sets before them, and then they get on stage, they do one joke, it bombs, and then they're literally filming themselves flipping through their notebook for a closer. I'm like, bro, get it together. Like, prioritize your fucking thing. Like, how about just getting the jokes out of your fucking mouth hole first, then setting up the tripod for your reels?
yeah, for me is like when you first become a magician and you start getting up, because here's the issue, and I think all performers go through this, if I'm not mistaken. There is sort of uh comedy in theory. uh so magicians, we have books, we have mentorship, um
Right.
what you're supposed to do when you get on a stage.
Well, there's like
uh,
an A and B. There's like the
yeah,
trick of like you make this thing disappear or you make this go here, whether or not you do it a direct route and then you decide to put some flavor and jokes on it. That's the things that you can use for your uniqueness and whatever. But like, yes, more or less magic has like a point A to point B,
Yeah.
where comedy is like, there's no fucking point.
Yeah. So basically, what I tell my students when I do my introductory to sleight of hand is that sleight of hand is sleight of hand.
Mm-hmm.
It's a series of actions that you practice over and over until what the person seeing, basically what happens is that the person watching you has to believe what you're doing is magic, and that makes no sense because magic isn't real. So
Whoa.
what I
What?
yeah, I know it's crazy, and you know what, I'm glad it came from me, Brian, but
Yeah.
um you know, for the thing about it is that there is, being a comedian and being a magician or being a singer or being in a band, you have a show structure, which you have the beginning, the middle, and an end. And that is basically comparing a comic or a magician or a ventriloquist or an improv group. Honestly, your audience doesn't see the difference. They know the difference between a comedian and a magician, but what they're doing is they're going to watch entertainment. It's
Right.
entertainment. We're all entertainers. A person works really hard all week, right, at their job. They'll put in 30, 40 hours, and they'll take their partner and they work real hard. And they got tickets to this show. A friend of a friend had tickets, or they win these tickets off the lottery. And they get to the show, and this guy in a hoodie just starts making fun of them. And all this guy wanted to do was just have one day where he didn't have to be reminded that he works at a 7-Eleven. And that's,
Yeah,
to
but
me,
that doesn't happen more. That's a rarity, honestly, the direct confrontation thing. And if anything, it's more like that guy is actually overserved and is loud or something, and then a comedian is fragile and can't handle it. So then they both go back and forth. And then again, it's mostly for an Instagram reel, like heckler kills comedian question mark. And then it's like, hey, fuck you, and then it's over, and I'm like, why did I click that? But I think what more happens, and it's like, and it's in the same vein of what you're saying, like all the same shit's the truth, like guy, girl, whoever, partner, they go out, fucking they want to have a good time. There's pressure on the evening, maybe they got a babysitter, wherever the fuck, it's someone they want to see, but like the opener or whoever, someone they didn't know, or they didn't do it, like they just saw comedy, they didn't put it, then it's a guy in a hoodie just mailing it in, like just not trying, or just be like, he goes up there, like he's the host, and he's just like, I'm depressed, and like everyone's like, I don't fucking care, dude. Like,
what I guess my thought was kind of a different.
okay, sure.
What I was
I'm not saying
saying
yours doesn't exist. I'm saying that's just more rarer than like
um,
what I'm saying,
yeah,
I think.
but what I'm trying to, my thought per se was,
Hmm.
these people pay to go to a show to be entertained.
Right.
Whether you're
Oh, for
going to
sure.
a comedy show, what I'm saying is that when you go to a show, you have an expectation.
Absolutely. To be right, one, to be entertained. I mean, that's like what, like, let's just go with comedy again, because I've been hearing this one a lot lately, and this is like how problems and how problematic behavior like goes unchecked. I
Yeah.
hear things with like, I don't know, someone will be like, no, blah blah blah's funny. They said like a few things the other day and they were okay or good. I'm like, being good or being funny is the baseline. It's supposed to be like, literally, I can't pat people on the back for doing the job. That's
Yeah.
being like, he went and played music at the music thing. It's like,
Yeah.
good. I'm glad it was good. And it's like, no. I didn't say it was good. I'm just saying he did it. Oh, who gives a fuck then? Like, you
Yeah.
know, and
Um,
I get what you're saying, right? There's a thing to be entertained, and that's why when it comes to, I guess, because all those forms of entertainment, they all kind of like cannibalize each other. They all kind of like, you know, it's not exclusive to comedy. It's
yeah.
not exclusive to magic. It's not exclusive to music or whatever. They all kind of like compete with each other, but it's like, really,
Yeah.
you should be competing with the other art form. It's not comedians against comedians. It's, you know, comedians versus karaoke night. It's music versus whatever. And that, you know, those can complement each other too, and for sort of the variety show way.
Yeah.
But that's all about vibe and whatever. But really, I think no matter what the circumstances is, you just, a show, for it to be good, it needs to be run by somebody that's experienced a lot of bad, so they know what not to
Yeah.
do. But also, yeah, it should be taken seriously by all the people participating in it. Like, I feel like, I don't know if it's just the instant gratification of the internet, but people's impatience to not be handed something they feel deserved after doing something for 3 weeks has
Yeah.
gotten like so redundant. That in
Yeah.
itself is like this like beaten to death trope. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
So
yeah,
I don't
that,
know. I guess
yeah.
I think I just sound so jaded at this point. Like, it's just like pointless.
Yeah, I just wanted like, because I was like, okay, well, I don't think I made my point good enough
No, you
because
definitely did. I
yeah,
think I was just making like,
yeah,
because you know, when we kind of just poo poo like everything, you know, it
yeah,
might deter people from going out to things, but it's like, no, I want people to know that there's really good shows out there all the time. It's the fact that it's, if you see a bad show and you don't know any better, then you're gonna like never want to go see that again. And the problem
yeah,
is like, you know, again with comedy, you just see comedy night on a poster or whatever. But I
yeah,
think I think this is those, I think we're just, you got me something going with those negative connotations, and it just started with like, I don't want to follow that person. They crushed. It's like, why
yeah.
not? Imagine they bombed and were getting booed and someone threw something at them. You really want to go on after that? Or like, oh my God, I don't want to go up there. People are laughing and having a good time out there. That sounds terrible. Like, you know what I mean? You really want the uphill
Yeah.
battle?
And
What are you, a
I think
masochist?
when I used to take my lessons, when well, I plan to keep doing them, but when we did our writing,
Hmm.
um, and I was talking to you about how shows went.
Hmm.
One of the things that I always grew up when I was on shows, because I've only actually ever been on shows, I've only been on one show with other magicians, is that
Hmm.
I believe a show should build. That means if you're using a 3 point structure, which means you have a host, a feature, and a headliner, that
Hmm.
energy needs to be carried throughout the show. If you're using, say you're on a 5 point structure, which means you have a host, uh, a couple guest spots, a feature.
Hmm.
Okay, we're gonna say six, a
It
six
might be
point.
just a showcase at that point,
Yeah,
where then,
yeah,
and that's what you were kind of talking about, where it's oversaturated. Like, we have 11 comedians on this show, and everyone does 12 minutes, and you're like, okay, like,
and basically what ends up happening is that if the show is structured appropriately, when you have a host and he passes the torch off to the opener, and then the opener passes that torch back to the host, and that host passes it to the second person, and then you get to the headliner. Where my strength is I'm very good at breaking in a cold audience, and um I'm very good at engaging people.
I would agree. I mean, like, cold opening is one of the hardest things. I mean, like, let's not even do a show. You know, the horror of just having to go up to a stranger and start talking to them. Let's fucking talk about it.
I know.
Like, You know, that is a skill set. That's an asset. Like, Ham and I were talking just recently, and we were talking about like, I don't even know, like just like our skill sets, like our personality, like what's something you bring to the table. I don't remember how it came up, and I was like, 100% of like my skill set is my talking abilities. As I stutter through that sentence, I'm like, I'm very confident in my talking abilities. I think I can, I think Ham has her way. I think you have your way. I think I have my way of like we are endearing. We can win people over
Yeah.
conversationally, and that can translate to, doing it in front of mass people. And I think it's because of having to do it in front of a lot of people. And then when it's a one person, you're like, you're nobody. Not negative. It's like, you're just one person. It doesn't matter. You're just the bank teller. Like, I don't
Yeah.
mind. Just start talking to you. There's no anxiety.
My favorite thing to do is when I'm greeting at the movie theater.
Hmm.
We have three different types of 3D glasses depending on what movie's playing. And my line to anybody is, "Oh, I'll scan you in." And it's, "Oh, looks like you got 3D glasses. Here, let me get those. These will stop you from I say, it's like, "Oh, let me scan you in." And I scan them in and I hand you it. And it's like, "Yeah, these will stop the nosebleeds." And it's like I'm quick. "Oh yeah, you're the fun guy," and it's just because
Right. Oh,
I'm
he said that? That's
constantly,
crazy.
yeah, I'm constantly, but also you can't do the joke with everybody. You have to be able to look at somebody and know inside your heart, are they going to be?
Mm.
Because you might do the joke and be like, "I was late for my movie. I want to talk to your manager." You have to be able. So I'm constantly, instead of reading the room, I'm reading a line of people who want to go get their popcorn. So I'm constantly like
But
honing
you know
my,
their motive. They're there for
yeah,
entertainment still, but
yeah,
what the end game for them is. So
yeah,
one, how you can hold it up, but two, how you can reward them while you hold them up. You know what I
because
mean?
like so Cocaine Bear uh
It's
came out
crushing in
recently.
theaters, I hear.
Yeah, it's doing really well. And people are like, "Oh yeah, uh, Cocaine Bear. It's based on a true story." And if you know anything about the true story, the bear did cocaine and immediately died of a
Died.
heart attack.
Right. It got, which is still pretty cool. I'd
Yeah,
watch that
and,
movie. Like, it's a
and
12-second movie. It still costs
yeah,
$15. I'd be like, fuck it. Like, let's watch the bear
because
die. Like, he dies and I
yeah.
see it. All right, fuck it.
So what happens is that the real life story is a lot. The real life story is like, they had to embellish the movie. And even at the end of the movie, I think they kind of make stuff up, because it's like, to this day the bear is no, it's like, no, that bear died. Yeah, look, because here's the thing, and this is what a lot of people don't know, is that bears are way bigger than a human being, but they
Right.
can smell the they can smell like a rotting deer carcass from like miles and miles
They're
away.
giant dogs. So you have to
Yeah.
imagine they have all the heightened senses of that of a canine.
And then they go, "This one got a hold of cocaine." Yeah. But in that five
But to be
seconds,
fair, that
in
also
that 10
numbs them.
seconds,
Yeah.
that 10 seconds, that bear was the most dangerous animal in the world. If that
That
10
bear is
seconds before its heart
horny.
exploded,
Yeah.
it had, I don't know what gender the bear was. Like I said, it probably died with a very nice erection.
Yeah.
And
Well,
God bless it.
cocaine. I don't
You
know.
know, I
Flaccid.
don't know.
It really wanted to have a deep conversation and fuck later, but it needed to come
Yeah,
down a little
it,
bit.
it,
Well, there's just too many, like, okay, there's two things that you remind me of with this cocaine bear shit. One, that there's so many movies where they do that. They just use that line and they use that as an excuse across the board. If they just use based on a true story. So yes, Cocaine Bear is based on a true story. That's all they need to be like, this is real at that point. And it's like at the same thing where like someone wants to say something that they did, but they don't want to like incriminate themselves, so they'll just like attack on an allegedly. It's like the vice
Yeah.
versa of that. But also now with the success of Cocaine Bear, you have big shitty dumb business even sticking its
Yeah.
dick further into this thing now. And now like the people from Sharknado are like, we're gonna make this movie called Meth Gator. And
It
it's
is,
like,
that's
bro,
based on a true story too, except the animals just die.
yeah, it's called Florida. It's like I don't need to fucking. It's like okay, coming soon to a fucking theater near you. It's a Flocka cheetah. We gave a cheetah some Flocka coming to a theater near you. It's fucking fentanyl gorilla. It is a gorilla that overdoses on fentanyl and dies immediately. Coming to a theater near
You
you.
know what's
Guys,
sad
coming to
about
a theater near
cocaine,
you.
man?
It's crack zebra.
Yeah.
It's a zebra smoking crack. It's nuts.
You know what's sad about Cocaine Bear is that was Ray Liotta's last movie before he passed away. That's his last one. He never gets to make another film.
I was thinking about that, but on the flip side with Bruce Willis, because you know Bruce Willis sold his. Was it you and me talking about his deep fake, or was that a different thing?
I I don't remember talking about that,
Well, you
but
know, he can't talk anymore. His
yeah,
mind is kind of like deteriorating. Bruce Willis is on death's doorstep. Rest in peace soon, buddy. We miss those harmonica solos already. But either way, Bruce Willis isn't doing well, but he sold his likeness to like deep fake companies. So he's gonna
yeah,
start being in movies like deep faked, like completely, which is
yeah.
like holy shit, have fun with that. But I mean, they've already CGI'd Paul Walker in like Fast and the Furious movies. It's not like unheard of or whatever.
Oh,
But I think it's funny because the movie right before like he like retired, I fucking forget what it's called. It's so bad.
yeah.
He talks like two sentences the entire movie, sitting in a chair, and he's wearing an infinity scarf. So it's kind of like and they're like one word answers because they're like probably just going like Bruce, say yes now. Like literally, he's not a plot driver in this one. So I'm like, damn, I feel bad for that movie because they were the last one to just get like this, like, I don't know, like 50% Bruce Willis when they could have just bought this deep faked, like Die Hard one, like still has that balding hairline, but hair in an air vent, like, yeah, we'll go around. He's like doing he's barefoot, fucking
You
shooting Hans Gruber and
what,
shit again. Like,
what
yeah, let's go, baby.
what's interesting about that, and I think you'll agree with me here, is that deep faking Paul Walker made sense. Now with that, you're gonna be watching the Super Bowl, and that's like, oh, the Domino's pizza there, and then you're gonna open up, and it's just gonna be a deep fake of Bruce Willis
Mhm.
as the pizza guy. That's what's gonna happen to him. It's like, you know how
Oh, of
Shaq does
course. We're
Shaq
fucked
does
too. Like
the
it's gonna go capitalism's gonna like go corrupt with it, and then misinformation's gonna go corrupt with it. And the two are gonna totally meet all the way in the middle and make out hardcore.
and there's no one who loves a good makeout session than I do, but just think about that because the like in like 10 years you're just going to be watching a movie and like George Burns is just going to appear on screen for absolutely no reason. He's just going to start appear, it's like the people watching this don't know who George Burns is,
Yeah. It'll be
but
like Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory, and
yeah,
he'll be like, "Hey guys, check out my new show, Sperm Sheldon, coming
yeah,
to a theater near you." I'm also
yeah,
making a cameo in my new my new movie, Heroin Draft. Make sure
yeah,
you check it out. We shoot heroin into the in a big needle into a draft's neck, and it dies. I'm the guy. I play the needle in that
yeah.
movie.
I
AI
am both the
Sperm
needle and the
Sheldon
draft.
here.
I am the needle that is also a draft at the same time.
Yeah.
And
Well, they were kind of trying to do this shit with holograms like
yeah,
5 years ago, if you remember that. Like Mitch
you
Hedberg
remember
was
the
going to do
two
a hologram
hologram?
show and everyone cried. And then they're
Tupac.
like, but I'll go watch Hologram Michael Jackson or Tupac. And I'm like, where the
Yeah.
fuck are you drawing the line then?
I remember, you know what they do with Elvis Presley? They just had his original band playing with a movie screen in back of them, and I thought that was classy.
Yeah.
How weird is it? It's just, oh, it's Elvis Presley's go. Because one of the things that I'm going to bring this back to sort of kind of like the way I develop magic, to sort of tie this in with everything. But I look at magic as, could I go up to a 4-year-old Paul and describe a trick and have 4-year-old Paul go, that's pretty cool, Paul?
Hmm.
And I say to myself, and my friend, my very good friend, Dirk, he was like, your magic needs to be just like a catchphrase, like a Coke and a smile, or I'm loving it. You just say it, and a person automatically forms the idea in their
Get
head.
her done.
Yeah, and well, I think that's the voice of a generation, really. Is really, but you know, these things, when it all comes back to is that the not to go off on a tangent here, but
Let's do it.
okay, so commercials in the 1930s, they were 10 to 15 minutes long, and they were a part of a show. So the show would end, and then a commercial for like a dishwashing detergent would come on.
Well, yeah, they were a paid advertiser. You know, ad space was much more of a blocked commodity back then.
Yeah.
But you couldn't just it was literally a guy switching tape. So it's like, I'm not going to do it every 2 minutes. What am I, a robot? It's like,
now it's 15 seconds.
Yeah.
And
how expensive is it too? You know what I mean?
So what the way when I developed my material is that somebody said it's like you got to make them laugh every like 5 seconds or 5 minutes.
Probably, yeah.
And I said to myself, when I'm developing material for myself, a lot of my material is esoteric and weird. It needs to build. So I do something really quick and flashy, and then I gaff them and I bring them in.
Yeah, I always tell people your first joke, if they ever ask me for advice, which it was just that one guy at a dumpster once, but I'm like, it should always be like a pretty quick fire, like get them and then do whatever you want.
Hey, dumpster advice is the best advice.
Yeah, I mean, if you're here asking for me for advice at this dumpster, I got it for you. But like, no, you're right. You got to get them with that flash. And like, I've been just kind of like doing whatever, mostly these things lately. And I went to an open mic on Monday. First of all, I did a Zoom show and I ate shit. And then I went and did a mic in real life to redeem myself. And then I ate shit even harder because like in 2 weeks got a little rusty. I got used to just podcasting for 3 fucking hours straight and having 3 hours on my side to find a joke at that point and not going, oh shit. And I didn't prepare anything. So I was kind of just like, I was just doing comedy to like get that bad set off of me, but that just attracted more dog shit because the bar was just terrible, but whatever. I went to one last night and I had a good time.
Yeah.
I had a good set. I'm back, baby. I got some finger guns from people.
Oh, did you like when I did your open mic?
Dude, you crushed. Yeah, Ham and I did a Zoom open mic. What was it? This past Friday, and you had me in fucking tears, dude. You were saying some shit from like one of our other podcasts together and stuff, but also like some of your other stuff. But yeah, you were definitely riffing, and that's one of my favorite and most frustrating things about you is that you're so fucking funny, but I wish you would write shit down sometimes. And repeat them every once in a while. But it's also I have the same problem, and a good mutual friend of ours who I also did a podcast with recently, Adam Parisi, once said, and these words have stuck with me ever since he said it to me, is we often see the things we don't like in ourselves in people we don't like. So I was bitching about a comedian I don't like, and he was basically like saying like, you just don't like that quality that you also share about yourself and that person is what you're complaining about. And I was like, damn, dude, you fucking told me about myself. Hardcore, dude. You are fucking wise as fuck. And you know what I mean? You know, he did it like a fucking scholar and gentleman too. Didn't make me feel bad about myself. Just told me I was being a baby. And I was like, you know what? I am the biggest baby. You are fucking correct, sir. You know, I guess that's the wisdom that comes with being a skilled magician comedian. You guys would know, right?
Well, for me is like, okay, so like when I started my comedy journey, I had a very specific type of comedy that I wanted to do. And I don't know who it was that first mic. I can't remember. It's the Connecticut crew. And I went up there and
Dan Calloway.
Yeah, it was him. And I was
I'm your comedy dad. I remember everything. I have a scrapbook of you. I'll find it.
And so I remember he got me like he got me my first thing, and I'm going back and forth, and I fucking crushed because I didn't in my mind I didn't realize that 3/4 of the audience just came to watch me perform.
Really? Like friends came out, or they just
all my friends came out, and I fucking crushed it. And then Stash Makita booked me on a show.
I think I even know where you were. Is this a Cafe 9 situation?
Yeah.
That's a room, man. I've been there many a times. That is a good small room. And I mean that all in nicely, because that room is like, it's like a punk venue, I guess you would call it. They have the popcorn machine, but like it seats like, what would you say? Like, and this is like, it's like the perfect size, like 50, 60
at most.
You know what I mean? And that's what you want, because when that room's full, that's what you want. Just a tight knit, like there's one door to go smoke cigarettes out of, and that's it.
And what ended up happening was I fell into that damn trap where I did his show, did my material, no one knew me, and I got a couple laughs. And I walked up to him and he says, "Did I bomb?" And he's like, "I don't know. The fact of the matter is I learned a very valuable lesson that day."
Yeah.
And here's another Dan Calwhite story is I had a couple of good open mics. I used to do Brooke Smith's mic in Torrington a lot. And I had a couple of good open mics, and I was sending Dan's things, and I came up with this joke where I was like, the only reason people go to Thailand is to have sex with children. It's like I sent that, and he's like, you should do jokes from Paul.
Yeah.
From Paul. And he's like, and I was like, and I looked at the joke, and
that was the joke where he's like, "Have you ever considered bringing that to the stage?"
And
that's hilarious.
Like, you need to the jokes need to come from Paul, and I don't think this is who you are. And I think that was him saying it's like, now you're starting to emulate the other guys.
So like, are you saying like was your comedy like strictly related to the routine you were doing? Because like it is still, but like you definitely will go off on fucking tangents that have nothing to do with the magic you're doing, which is amazing. You're just doing great magic and then telling a funny joke at the same time, which is like, I don't even know how people do fucking chew gum and walk at the same time half the time.
At the time, I wasn't doing magic with my comedy because I wasn't there yet. So I'm not a particularly blue performer, and I think Dan realized that. And I went back and I looked at the message because I wanted to see what the joke was. It wasn't a joke, it was a statement. It was just me just saying it's like the only reason people go to Thailand is to sleep with
It was an
children.
observation you had made. You didn't realize, you know, he saw something deeper in that. It's like you were just making some like dumb little observation or whatever, but like he knew that if you brought this like that innocence about you, but also like your inner, dialogue to it, monologue, whatever, into the situation, it would bring that new layer to it. And he's not wrong. Like now you're like, you have like these like I don't even know how you would call it. Like it's like very like, you learn a lot about you in your set.
Yeah.
You're very like biographical, like there's which you don't get from a lot of magicians. Magicians is very like command based.
Yeah.
You get like certain little it's quips, a lot of things,
Because one of my
to keep it with Adam, just because I know him, he's got jokes to talk about his family, but again, very light. Like you don't learn anything. Like with you, like shit, I know your fiance's name afterwards. I know your favorite restaurant. I know like, your cat's name. Like it's, I know your address probably.
yeah, and basically with my style, and
You had to
I've
be
gotten this,
yourself.
yeah,
He
I've gotten
wasn't
this from
wrong.
I've gotten this from other magicians.
Hmm.
And what they say is they're like the magic is an afterthought. So I'll go up, and one of my favorite routines is it's an original piece of mine called Cemetery Flowers. And
I know that bit.
it's something that and the macaroni necklace are my
It's
two
funny.
favorite bit. And I go on stage and I'll be doing it because originally that stemmed from like I was doing a card trick,
Right.
and then
It's
I
the
stopped
classic
what I
like make flowers appear trick.
so I basically stop and I find a lady in my audience and I says I just want to thank you for coming to my show, or and then I pull out a thing of flowers and I
Yeah.
go out into the audience and I hand it to her and I
Yeah.
come back on stage and then I'm like, I just want to let you know that I found those at the cemetery. They were just lying on the ground. They throw them out anyway, so thanks for coming.
Yeah.
And the
It's such
point
a
was,
fucking funny opener because I've seen it like obviously
yeah,
it's hilarious, but I've seen people just like because they don't know.
yeah,
And
and
also you're also like, reminding them of, impending doom and stuff like
yeah.
that.
So that routine sprouted off. So I have a thing in my act now where I make a flower appear out of a handkerchief. And then I do the same thing where I find a younger lady in the audience,
Mm.
and I walk out and hand it to them, and I completely knowing that she's with like a dude. And I go on stage and I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Is this your partner?" And that gets all kinds of funny responses. And then I take out a flower and I hand it to the dude, and then I take the flower away from the lady and I walk back on stage and I was like, my therapist tells me I have to make more male friends in NASCAR. And if he says no, I'll go around to every single person until they say yes. And
See, that's the
from
person I would designate like you're my dad for the rest of my set or whatever. You're bringing that my dad energy.
well, so that brings me to another bit I do where I literally stopped my show and I was like, "You remind me of my dad."
Right?
And
Oh
then
yeah, shit, you do say that.
pull out a little
We both do
baseball.
that.
I pull out a little baseball and I walk
Mhm.
over and hand it to him. And I was like, "Can you throw that to me?" And I catch it. And I like my improv skills as I look like years of traumatic stuff with my dad has lifted. And the younger the dude I do this to, the funnier it becomes. And then I walk back on stage and then I look up and I say, I told you I can catch it.
That's
I told you.
funny.
And
I've
then,
had the
or,
best. I had the best layup opener ever
yeah,
yesterday too. Speaking of dads, because I love that shit. Like bringing that like fucking level, and that's funny. That you like bring that grim shit up there, but it's like Ham was just like she went right before me last night, and she crushed, obviously. But like she has like bits about my dad and like wishing death upon him, and like it's mad fucked up, but it's funny. You know what I mean? Like so like and she name drops them and everything. So I literally just get to go on stage and just be like, "What's going on? Glenn is my dad." Anyways, and they're just like, "What the fuck?" Like so I could just like do that and shit. But I think this all started and like we were doing it off camera when I was saying like, we were talking about following people, but I think this is all like good and stuff. I think we've been like talking about your set and like getting what you like about it because we were both kind of confiding in each other was like what we were also complaining about too is like getting depressed and then like not finishing projects or not having follow through or not being patient enough to see if things would come to like fruition and shit. And it's like we're both fucking guilty of it, but I like have felt like recently like a reinvigorated in a lot of ways, and I feel like that like just thinking about like the things that you like about your set does
yeah,
really help that because then it also be like, well, what can I do that will complement that? What can I do that will, because this is the way I always look at it, and it's not the best way to look at it because I'm very competitive. I try not to be with other comedians, but I definitely am with myself. So it's like
yeah,
I always want to be like embarrassed by what I was saying like 6 months ago. By
yeah,
like, and by that I mean like I want to like look at it and be like, oh, well, I've gotten all this shit so much better, or like what I'm talking about now is so much better. It's like I'm embarrassed that I was like even bringing that to the table because this stuff is so good now. So it's like, you know what I mean? It's like I'm progressing always. I want to always just be like bettering myself, doing better quality, whatever, just not just like mechanics but also performance and all those things.
yeah,
But I do want to go into a special clip, so would you be
yeah,
willing to humor me and then we'll be right back after this quick commercial
yeah.
break?
I kind of have to go, so I'll.
Hey guys, just in the new podcast studio starting to decorate and stuff. I'm really excited for all the new stuff we got going on here. Make sure you like and subscribe because I can't wait to show you guys the new space. It is huge.
But either way, I've been doing that a lot lately, and I think that's got a lot to do with why I've been doing some top tier comedy.
Yeah,
Just get high and watch bug fucking things. Paul,
yeah.
I know you have to go to work. This was amazing. I love you so much. Thank you for helping me work on my One Paul show. I'm getting better and better, I think, every rehearsal.
You are. Yeah, and I hope you have a great day.
Dude, me too. You have a fucking even better one. Ha.